Thank you very much, Scott. So, hello, yes, my name is KINS from RJ Games, and I'm here to share our experience and show that actually free-to-play game is a unique set of features designed especially for the market you're going to work on. So even if you have a game that works fine on one market, it not necessarily means that this game, if you put it as is on another market, will work there in the same way, in the same good way. I'm going to show you all this on an example of our project Under Siege, which can be found on Facebook anytime you wish. It's a fantasy game in a mix of genres, tower defense and city building. It took us 4 months to go from concept to the first release, which happened on Russian social network of Kontakty.ru in August 2012. Till the end of the year, we were working on porting this game over different social networks in Russia and CIS. And later, inspired by great results and popularity of the game there, we decided that it's time to move on and go on Facebook. So in March 2013, the game was ready. We had a first traffic push, some tests, and found that actually what the difference that we expected to find between Russian users and Facebook audience, especially North American and Western Europe users, was so great that we understood that we need to completely redesign most retention and monetization features. And of course, we started from the very beginning of the project, from tutorial and consequent first session of the user. First of all, we found interesting thing that some steps of tutorial that had been always odd in Russian version, that ruined conversions totally in Russian version, became necessary on Facebook. For example, we had to introduce lessons about social interaction, about play with friends, about mission control, about deeper understanding of a town management, and about fighting, about unit production, unit upgrade, and so on. All these steps were, as I said, odd in Russian version, and Russian players just at some point get tired of all this education and just wanted to play already. But Facebook users, actually I'd say, like to be educated. They really like to understand the game before they make a decision whether to play it or not. And another interesting fact was tied to first session after the tutorial. In Russia, first session, it's about 2 or 3 minutes of play. So after 3 minutes, player decides whether the game fits his needs or not. But on Facebook, players, as we saw, like to play from 10 to 15 minutes before making a decision. And another fact is that in Russia, those players who play 2-3 minutes and want to return, they return in a period of 5 to 8 hours, so I'd say the same day. But on Facebook, as a classic retention model, they return only on the second day, in a period of 12 to 20 hours. Most of these users, not all, most users, like 60 or 65% of those who return. So with that thing, we just cope easily. We just make, as I said, tutorial longer. Tutorial became much more polished, as Facebook users are very sensitive to quality. They do not accept any kind of bugs or small mistakes the developer can make in this process. So we can see on the graph the original state. VK, the Kontakty.ru version, tutorial graph lies higher. And Facebook lies lower, but it has approximately the same figure. And that's what happened after we implement all changes. I have a bug here actually on the graph. Kontakty, the pink graph, ends on order wood, and you can see that Facebook graph, Facebook line is longer. And actually, it is the same quality as on Vkontakte.ru. Of course, all that we did in the very beginning of the game led to really nice increase in retention, especially 1 and 2 day retention. And another thing we found was that actually Under Siege game in Russia is a very, very hardcore game if you put it on Facebook as is. Especially it is seen when players starting to lose in missions. Russian players, if they lose, what they do? They simply change tactic, or they find new strategy, or they upgrade units in order to fight all creatures they find on mission. So at least they pay us. They pay us to upgrade units, they pay us to skip certain timers and start playing again with the new tactics. But Facebook users, especially in the first 2 or 3 sessions, they become disappointed when they lose. They don't want to lose. They just want to keep winning, want to keep having fun. And actually about 70% of users who lose in the first 2 sessions, they just turn around, they leave and never come back, saying, oh my god, this is too hardcore for me. I don't want to abandon my life to play this. So we had to do something with that, and we decreased difficulty level of missions, we decreased difficulty of bosses in the game, and what we did was a new functional called Time Machine. Actually, it's a standard functional for many tower defense games. But in terms of Under Siege, it is quite a new functional, as we never needed it in Russian version, and we don't have it at this moment there. We only have this feature on Facebook. It allows to control difficulty level on flight. Another interesting thing we found was that actually tied to the level of freedom that game gives to user. To describe, actually, it is more about direct monetization. And before I tell you about it, I have to explain general Under Siege gameplay model. It consists of 2 parts. First part is an active gameplay. Actually, it is missions where player fights different enemies, different creatures, and so on. This is fun. Everyone wants to play this fun. But in order to do so, players have to play second part that we call farming. This is all gameplay tied to player's town, what happens inside the town. It is production, it is resource farming, it is buildings upgrade, and so on and so on. So this gameplay actually is obligatory in order you want to have fun. And certainly we have some timers inside the town that prevents user to participate in active gameplay immediately after the previous try. And also we found that Facebook players don't want to wait. They want to have fun. They don't accept when the game blocks the way to the fun. So we had to reduce, first of all, we had to reduce all timings, all timers. For example, in Russian version, you can find timers like 4 days. 4 days, it's quite a big timer. But on Facebook, you will never find in Under Siege timer more than 24 hours. And of course, we had to cut requirements for the start of mission. Of course, we cannot allow players to have unlimited fun. Yes, it's not productive in terms of revenue. They won't pay us if they can get this fun for free, always. So we introduced a huge part called secondary active gameplay, which consists of some secondary missions, not scenario missions, but additional missions, some repeatable quests, some daily quests, and so on. So to give player possibility to play anytime he wishes. But the global progress through the game is certainly locked under different timers under different resource requirements and different upgrade requirements and so on. This is a way for monetization, and we can do nothing with that. And as I mentioned, we decreased monetization pressure on player. I can illustrate it on interesting example with a feature called schemes. Scheme in the game is some kind of blueprint or diagram that is required in order to, for example, open new territory, upgrade building, I don't know, upgrade units and so on, buy new spells. And in Russian version, actually, was a one abstract blueprint. And player requires this blueprint, certain amount of blueprints, for different things. And we had a price, fixed price, for skipping this requirement, not for buying schemes, but for skipping requirement. And if a player has 9 of 10 schemes, anyway, he needs to pay, for example, I don't know, 10 credits. Anyway. But we found that on Facebook, when players saw this, they started to wane in the Facebook page of the game. They started to tell us that we are too evil, that we want too much of their money. And we had to completely redesign this feature. And what we did, we introduced a special inventory for schemes. We make from one type of scheme, we made 5 types. And we allowed buying any amount of schemes player want to buy. So players here now can combine different purchase tactics. They can ask for example, for 5 blueprints from friends and buy only 5 additional blueprints, not having to pay the full amount of money, like on Russian version. Because actually in Russian version it is fine for users. They are okay with that, and I can explain why. Actually, Russian players consider payment as an option. They can either wait or pay. But Facebook players consider options of payment. They want to see inside a possibility of pay. They want to see different types of this payment. They want to choose. They want to combine different tactics. So at some point they spend their time. At some point they buy. What we did also with the monetization, with this feature, for example, with the feature of scheme purchase, we decreased prices. Here on the graph you can see that we decreased prices for schemes for 30% in comparison with Vkontakte.ru. And that gave us 12% increase in revenue tied to this feature. Also comparing with, these are relative prices in comparison with the Russian version. Same situation with a house upgrade, but you can see that the price drop was significant, 70%, which gave us 10% increase in revenue, and actually gave us a lot loyal users who started to rate us high, who became engaged in the game, in the product. They started to be a part of virality models. Yes? So it's not only revenue, it's not only money you receive. You also receive some intangible, I'd say, revenue in terms of good feedback, high ratings, and so on. What we did as well was decrease in the cost of timer skipping. We had a decrease of 10%, which gave us no additional revenue. 0, as on vk.com, same on Facebook. But actually, we decreased number of unhappy users. And we can see it looking at our Facebook page, looking at our ratings. When we started, we have 3 stars, 2 or 3 stars. Now we have 5 stars, mostly because users don't quit disappointed by our pricing model, by our monetization model. Another interesting fact to add to monetization is the price evaluation, how you set prices having no products on Facebook. It's your first product, yes, you launch it after the Russian version, for example, or I don't know, Polish version, no matter. First of all, we should understand that players from North America and Western Europe can afford paying much more than Eastern Europe and Russian players. For example, first payment in Russia is like 10 cents. First payment on Facebook, like $3, $5. It's okay. It's okay for these players to pay that sum. So the first step to evaluate price level is to multiply all prices by constant in order to increase the general price level of the game, to inflate the economy. But the price evaluation has another point, second point. In Russian version, monetization works like constant inflation in terms of real currency. At the first steps of the game, player receives goods of high quality for little money. Closer to the end of the game, they receive low quality virtual goods for high amount of money. The situation on Facebook is vice versa. Players pay a lot at the beginning, but it is impossible to ask them to pay the same money or even greater amounts closer to the end of the game. So we have to deflate economy. So later, by the game progress, users receive more goods or goods of better quality for small amount of money, for smaller. So we have high prices for low levels and lower prices for high levels. And now more about art and the attitude of Facebook audience towards quality. Russian players, this information will be useful for you if you ever are gonna publish a game in Russia. Russian users like some epic kind of graphics. They like epic battles on arts. They like, I don't know, huge fonts made in Gothic style and so on. But Facebook players, I'd say simpler. They like more cartoon style. They like a simple logo, maybe funny, but something warm, something nice. But for example, this is about logo, about general arts idea. But for example, talking about sharing style, yeah, we found that Facebook players like to be more serious. For example, you see on the left side of the presentation a picture of sharing post on vkontakte.ru. It is more about fun. I don't even understand what is there, some man with something in his arms and some goblins or whatever. Yeah, it's some fun. Players like it. But on Facebook, we noticed that CTR on more serious pictures with actually this is a photo of the game. This is a screenshot. They like it more. So new players come better, not from abstract pictures, but from pictures that represent the game. And of course, use all these features Facebook has in its API. It's very important. Users do like competition with Facebook scores and so on. They do use different viral channels to post each other and so on. And in conclusion, I want to say about general level of quality. Facebook players are very sensitive to quality, and they, I'd say, feel the attitude of developers to their product. It is impossible to launch a good product and then spam it with the trash updates. It's not the way it works. If you have an update, just pay attention to every detail. Make it as good as the game, as the original game you have. And players will be happy. Always introduce something new. You can reuse content. Of course, this is economically logical to reuse graphics and some game mechanics you already have. But you need to mask it, so you need to pretend that this is something new for a user. So the final idea, as I've said at the very beginning of the presentation, is that free-to-play game, especially on Facebook, especially in social gaming, it's really something unique. And to make a successful game, you have to try different strategies. You have to combine different strategies, different features, try to invent something. There is no one general good advice how to make successful and popular game with high revenue and so on. You have to try, you have to make experiments, and you have to love what you do, and your users, of course. That's all. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer. Thank you. Any questions? No? Everything is clear? Please.
Sorry, I missed the first couple of minutes of the talk. So I understand obviously Russian and American players are different. Do you have a sort of, did you see the type of player that as far as age and gender, was that different on Facebook and in Russia?
Actually, yeah, of course. No, in terms of portion of players who are most engaged in the game, there is the same distribution as in Russia. It's about 25 to 30 years male, of course. It's a pretty, and we try to make it casual, but still this is a more hardcore game. It's not like farm. So yes, this is a male audience and it's adults. Yeah. Please.
So when you talk about the inflation and deflation, right? Like, did you actually change the price of hard currency, or did you change the price of like in-game items?
Actually, both.
Oh, both.
Yeah, wow. It's a combination. It's impossible. First of all, we tried to just put up general price level, and that's it. First thing we did, and actually it gave no results. And we had to redesign not only price level, but also prices of each item. To, as I said on the picture of Chimps, yeah, here we had to reconsider all monetization model. And for example, like here, ask players for money not for skipping requirement, but for buying some valuable good, virtual good. This is a different thing. So there are many points in the game. I just cannot tell you everything. Yeah, it will take a long time. But yes, we did both what you said.
Okay. How was the resistance level when you changed the hard currency pricing?
You mean by the players?
Yeah, or from players.
They like it.
I mean, when let's say one hard currency became actually more expensive, then they're okay with
Actually, everything became cheaper.
Oh, everything, okay. That's
everything in cheaper, not in comparison with the Russian version, but cheaper in terms of value of these goods. So the value of these goods on VKontakte is actually lower for the same price. This way, yeah.
So I would be very tempted myself to take some of the stuff that you did for the Facebook version and see what happened if I brought it back into the original version. Were you ever tempted to do anything like that? Did you make any such experiments?
Yes, mostly with some new features that we introduced especially for Facebook audience. As an example with Time Machine, simply not working. Russian players are different, Facebook players different. So I think that any market you'll take, for example, I don't know, Asian market, South American market, will be different. And if you want to get, I don't know, 100% of the revenue from the game there, you will have to redesign.
Hey, so let's say I have a game that started on Facebook that is actually doing all the things that you said you ended up doing for Facebook, and I want to port it to another country, for instance, Russia. And it seems like a great deal because players will put up with a harder game that asks for more money more often. Is there a trade-off here? I mean, is there a catch besides just maybe like a smaller market, or what is it?
I knew I will hear this question actually before the presentation. Yeah. Actually, yes. As I said, Russian players like hardcore. They accept hardcore. They accept pressure. They're okay with pressure. If you tell them, okay, this is a button, you should pay here, and only then we will allow you to, for example, have a fight. Okay. Paying users will pay. I'm not telling that you will have like 100% paying users from the audience you receive. No, you will have these 5% like on Facebook, I don't know. But those who pay, they will pay for mostly anything you will ask for. Yeah. If you want to go to Russian market, take my business card, call me, and I will explain you everything. No problem. Okay, I think, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you for the talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.